Good evening and welcome. Tonight's story is called How the Vikings Survived Their Hottest Nights. We'll guide you gently through ancient summer heat, surprising rituals, and warm midnight tales. Perfect for sleepy ears. But before we begin, please take a moment to subscribe and like the video. In the comments below, let us know where you're listening from, and whether you prefer a quiet fan breeze or a window open at bedtime. It really helps our cozy little community connect. Now, dim the lights, get comfortable, and let your breath slow. Because tonight, we're drifting into warmth you never expected from the Vikings. Take a deep breath. Let your eyes get heavy. Tonight, we are not sailing frozen fjords. Not clashing swords under northern stars. No, tonight, the heat won't let us sleep. You are in a Viking village. But not the kind they sing about in winter ballads. Not the icy winds and roaring hearths. This is midsummer, deep and strange. A heatwave unlike any seen in 20 summers. The year is 891. The sun has not set in 2 days. And the sea, which once soothed with its cool breath, now holds warmth like a sleeping animal. You stand just beyond the longhouse. The wooden slats of the walls have grown hot to the touch. The grass beneath your feet crackles faintly. No one speaks too loudly. Not because of fear, but because the heat has asked for silence. From within the longhouse, a woman stirs. Her name is Sigrid. She is not yet old, but her hands are wise. She has seen many winters, but this heat has awakened something ancient in her bones. She steps quietly onto the dirt path, her shift damp with sweat. Around her neck, a small pendant of carved amber, once used to protect against fevers. Tonight, she wears it like armor. In Viking belief, the sun was pulled by Sol, the goddess who raced across the sky chased by a great wolf. But now it seems the wolf has grown tired. The sun lingers, and does not move. Sigrid walks toward the edge of the village. Past the goat pens, silent now. Past the fire pit, unused for days. There is no need for flame when the very air swells with warmth. In a field beyond she meets a boy, Einar, no older than 13. He fans himself lazily with a strip of birch bark. A few beads of sweat cling to his brow, but he smiles at her with the calm of one who has no memory of cold. "Will the sun sleep again soon?" he asks softly. Sigrid kneels beside him, tucking a strand of hair behind his ear. Even gods must rest. This is only a test. You watch them from afar, a scene soaked in golden stillness. The air smells of dried herbs and hot bark. In the distance, gulls circle the bay, not screaming, just gliding as if even they are weary. At the shoreline, a man dips linen into a wooden bucket and presses it to his chest. This is Halvard, a fisherman. He has tied damp cloth to the rafters of his longhouse to keep the sleeping room cool. He says it helps a little. Inside their homes, the villagers have removed furs, rolled aside thick carpets, unlatched windows to the night. But the night no longer brings relief. It glows faintly orange like the skin of a peach. Never dark enough for true dreams. So they adapt. They sleep in shallow shifts. 2 hours here, 1 hour there. They gather under trees in the evenings, sharing stories in whispers, voices low and slow. Children are given cool stones to hold as they drift off. And those who cannot rest walk quietly to the cliffs and back, letting the breeze kiss their shoulders. The Vikings were not just warriors. They were listeners. Listeners to the wind, to the animals, to the language of the land. When the cold came, they had fire. When fire lingered, they found water. A young healer named Asa mixes crushed mint with barley water and leaves it under a shaded rock. She pours it into carved horn cups and offers it to those who pass. "Drink," she says gently. "The heat will not own us." You walk slowly through this village. You notice how calm they are, how no one rushes, how they've learned the rhythm of the sun's heavy gaze. At the edge of the village is a circle of stones, old smooth, carved with signs. Sigrid places her palm on one of them and hums quietly. It is not a song. It is something older. Vibration. A memory of snow. And then, as you lie back, imagining her voice in the breeze, you feel your body begin to mirror the villagers. Your muscles soften. Your breath slows. You are no longer fighting the heat. You are floating in it. As the village fades into soft orange twilight, a stillness settles over the land. Not sleep, perhaps, but something close. Pause. Peace. A warm hush that stretches for hours. And in that hush, you begin to rest. Let your breath grow softer now. The sun is still high in the sky, though the hour drifts toward evening. And still, the hearths remain cold. There is something strange about this day. The longhouse hearths, once central to every gathering, once sacred places of warmth and flame, now sit empty, not for lack of fuel, but because no one dares bring fire into a house already glowing with heat. In the heart of the village, an old man named Sten sits beside his cold hearth. His eyes are half closed, his hands resting gently on his knees. He remembers a time when fires roared and children huddled close to their warmth. But tonight the stillness is welcome. Even the fire spirits, he says, deserve their rest. A pot of cooled stew sits near his feet, chilled with stream water, thick with barley and wild onion. He has eaten just enough to satisfy, not more. The summer heat humbles even appetite. Above him, the thatch roof whispers in the wind. Not a true breeze. Just the warm breath of the earth sighing through the eaves. Outside, the village slows. Tasks are shorter now. No one plows past mid-morning, and even the chickens scratch lazily, their wings outstretched to cool themselves. Down the slope, near the birch grove, young women gather at the stream. They are not there to bathe, not truly, just to be near water, to feel it in the air. They have brought washed linens and draped them over polished stones to dry. Some of them braid one another's hair with sprigs of mint. And the air is full of soft voices, soft laughter. Freydis, the shield maiden, sits among them. She does not laugh today. Her brow is furrowed, not in anger but focus. She is carving something small, a thin disc of yew wood, etching it gently with a narrow blade. A symbol begins to form. The rune Kenas, for warmth and controlled fire. It is not irony that drives her hand. It is reverence. Even in this heat, she respects what fire brings. A younger girl beside her, her sister perhaps, leans over. Will the heat end soon? She asks. Freydis doesn't answer right away. Instead, she dips the carved disc into a bowl of cool water, watching the runes darken as they soak. Then she smiles. Everything passes, she whispers. Even the sun must sleep. Nearby, a group of boys chase each other through the shallows, their laughter echoing off the rocks. They wear no tunics, only short breeches tied with twine, and their feet leave steaming prints on the flat river stones. Above them, an elder named Liv watches quietly. She carries a bundle of herbs, feverfew, yarrow, and elderflower. She speaks softly to each plant as she places them into a pouch, offering thanks in the old tongue. These are for the night, she murmurs. They cool the blood and soothe the head. In the Viking world, heat was not just temperature. It was spirit, it was mood. Too much warmth could cloud the mind, agitate the temper. So they balanced it, with cool stones, quiet songs, and rest beneath the trees. In the gathering circle that evening, a hush falls. The villagers come not for decisions or debate, but for stillness. Torches are not lit. Instead, the orange glow of the sky suffices. It casts long shadows, and the people sit within them, as if the shade itself is holy. Children lie with heads in their mothers' laps. Fathers wipe their brows with wet cloths. The healer Asa walks slowly through the crowd, offering mint water from a carved bowl. No one speaks unless they must. Words tonight are too heavy. You too are seated there. A quiet observer, a guest of the hour. The grass beneath you is warm but welcoming. The hum of insects drifts on the breeze, like a lullaby played on reeds. And overhead the sky deepens, not black and not yet, but a richer gold, bleeding into soft plum. Sigrid raises a hand, not to speak, just to stretch it toward the fading sun. She closes her eyes. The day is ending, another without fire, without cold, without sleep. And still, there is peace. Because the Vikings knew this truth well. One does not fight the land. One learns its rhythm. One listens. And tonight the land speaks in heat, in stillness, in the soft creak of wood and the scent of warm barley. So you close your eyes like they do. You let your limbs grow heavy. You let your breath match the earth's. And somewhere in that glow, sleep finds you like a tide. Let yourself drift a little deeper now. As the orange sky folds into a honeyed dusk, the village begins to lean towards stillness. No evening feasts, no clanging mugs, no songs to Odin or tales of far-off raids. Only hush. The hottest day of the season has given way to its warm twin. A night that glows but never darkens. A sky that refuses to dim completely. In the center of the village stands an old tree. Twisted, vast, black-limbed. It is called the Raven Tree. No one planted it. No one remembers when it first grew. Simply has always been there, watching with its crooked arms and ancient bark. And tonight, beneath that tree, people gather like they might around a fire. But it is not fire they seek. It is shadow. The Raven Tree holds the coolest place in the village. Its roots drink deep from some unseen spring, and its shade feels strangely cool, even under this relentless heat. Frydis sits beneath it now, her legs tucked beneath her, a linen cloth over her shoulders, its corners dampened with water from the stream. Across from her, little Einar leans against the tree's base, his head nodding gently as he fights the tug of sleep. He clutches a smooth stone, wrapped in a leaf, cooled in water, a gift from the healer Asa. Around them families murmur, but only barely. The kind of murmur you hear in dreams, soft, sliding into silence. The older ones tell tales, not with volume, but with rhythm, slow and steady, like paddling across still water. Tonight's tale is told by Sten, the eldest in the village. His voice is dry like old parchment, but gentle without effort. He tells the story of a Viking crew that sailed too far south, so far that the stars changed places, so far that their boots melted from the deckboards, and they drank from coconuts without knowing their name. The children blink slowly, imagining longboats among palms, Vikings sweating beneath bronze-colored skies. Frydis smiles. It is a strange image, but not impossible. The Norsemen traveled far, to Sicily, to Byzantium, even to the deserts of North Africa. They were not just warriors but traders, adventurers, students of the world. And when the sun burned their skin, they learned to wrap it. When the nights grew too hot for sleep, they took turns resting, rotating in watches so no one would overheat. It was not weakness, it was wisdom. At the edge of the gathering, Asa walks quietly with a bundle of herbs. She lays small sprigs beside each family. Lavender, lemon balm, sage. Not to eat, just to scent the air. She pauses beside you, nods once, and continues on. Someone strikes a low drum, only once. A heartbeat of sound in the air. It fades into the warmth like a pebble dropped into still water. In the crook of the Raven Tree, a baby stirs. The mother hums, a note so soft you aren't sure if you heard it, or only felt it in your chest. The leaves above shift. The tree groans gently. A breeze. No, not quite. But something cooler stirs the hairs on your arms. Frydis lifts her gaze skyward. A star appears. Just one. Then gone again behind a veil of cloud. She whispers to Einar. Did you see it? He nods, already half dreaming. The Raven Tree watches. The people sink into stillness. The sky turns a deeper gold. You feel the weight of your limbs now. The curve of your spine meeting rest. Your breath, longer, lower. Like the villagers in the shadow of the tree. The night does not cool. But the heart does. The mind does. And that is enough. The night has reached its quietest point. Not the darkest. No, the sky still glows like embers hidden in ash. But now even the insects have quieted. The stream murmurs in softer syllables, and the village breathes in unison, as if the very earth has begun to sleep. Inside the longhouse it is dim, not from lack of light, but because the walls are thick, made of timber and sealed with moss, and the roof is covered with turf that breathes like skin. You are lying beside the wall, on a bed of woven reeds and soft moss. It smells faintly of wild mint and sun-warmed grass. Above you, the curved beams of the ceiling form a cradle, and between them, strands of drying herbs sway gently in the still air. To your left, Fridas lies still, her arm draped over a rolled linen bundle. Her eyes are closed. She is not yet asleep, but she is far from wakefulness. She hums, almost too softly to hear. It isn't a tune exactly, just a rhythm low and steady, like paddling a longboat through calm waters. Somewhere across the room, Rolf shifts in his sleep. A low sigh, a hand dragging across a linen sheet. Then stillness. The heat has changed how the village rests. Instead of one long sleep, they nap in turns, waking in soft cycles, never disturbing the air too much. Always respectful of the warmth that presses on their chests like an old, heavy cloak. Near the hearth they haven't lit in many days. An elder sits upright, legs folded beneath her. It is Asa the healer. Her eyes are closed, but her breathing is deliberate. She is meditating, they say. A northern practice, old as the mountains. She calls it stone dreaming. To anchor her thoughts, to cool the heat in her mind. On the floor before her is a shallow bowl of water. Within it float 4 small petals. Lavender, yarrow, poppy, and a single leaf from the raven tree. She stirs them gently with the tip of a carved stick, watching the ripples. Her lips move, but you hear no words, only intention. Fridas opens her eyes for a moment and sees her. Their eyes meet, no words pass. Then Fridas closes hers again, and the silence returns, thicker than before. A dog lets out a soft breath near the door. Its ears twitch, but it does not wake. Even the animals know this night is not meant for activity, only rest. A child nearby, no more than 5, lets out a small sound, the beginnings of a whimper from a dream. Her mother reaches over, eyes still closed, and brushes fingers across her cheek. The sound fades. You shift slightly, just enough to feel the moss beneath your fingers. It is cool now. The heat has begun to settle like dust, still present but quieter. The longhouse walls do not trap the warmth as stone might. They hold it like a memory, gentle and forgiving. Outside, the raven tree sways again. Not a breeze, perhaps only the suggestion of one. And within you, something releases. Some knot you didn't know you carried, untangles. This is how the Vikings survived the heat. Not through might, not through conquest, but through stillness, through listening, through learning how to move slowly when the world demanded speed. How to yield when the land grew fierce. They taught their children that sleep was not always found in darkness. Sometimes it came in gold, in breath, in hush. And you now are part of their quiet rhythm. Your heartbeat joins theirs. Your breath aligns with the moss, the beams, the gently rocking herbs above. There is no rush. There is only the promise of rest. And it is here, soft, close, waiting. Breathe in slowly. Let your shoulders grow heavier. Let the quiet wrap around you like linen left to dry in the shade. The village has drifted into hush again. That soft, suspended space between waking and dreaming. But not all sleep. Some are drawn to a secret calm. Not in the houses, not beneath the trees, but beneath the ground. There is a place the villagers know, though they rarely speak of it aloud. A narrow path, lined with smooth stones, leads down to the cold store. Not a cellar, not a cave, but something in between. A hollow beneath the earth where food and herbs are kept cool, even when the sky forgets how to sleep. The entrance is hidden by a cluster of tall grasses. You wouldn't know it was there unless you were shown. Freydis knows. Sigrid knows. Halvard the fisherman does too. Tonight you follow Asa. She walks slowly, barefoot, her hair pinned loosely. In one hand, she carries a shallow clay bowl. Inside it, smooth stones wrapped in leaves. Cooling stones for fevered foreheads. She parts the grass gently, revealing a dark square cut into the ground. Steps carved from earth and wood, leading downward breath by breath, into quiet. As you descend, the air begins to change. It is not cold, but it is cooler. A stillness lives here that does not exist in the sun. The walls are packed earth, lined with woven straw and dark wood shelves. The floor is hard-packed and damp. From somewhere a drop of water falls. Plink, plink, regular as a heartbeat. Here baskets rest, full of root vegetables, dried herbs, smoked fish wrapped in cloth. There are clay jars sealed with wax, and bundles of dried moss tied with red thread. Sa sets the bowl down. She breathes deeply, and you can almost see her pulse slow. This is where I come when the world feels heavy, she whispers. Down here, the heat cannot scold me. It only waits outside. A small lantern rests in a corner, not burning but set aside in case true darkness comes. For now, the air glows faintly, as if memory alone keeps it alight. Freydis joins you. She carries no basket, no jar, only herself. She sits on the lowest step, back against the wall, knees drawn up, eyes closed. The silence here is different than above. Does not press. It releases. You sit too. At first, your breath is loud to your ears, then quieter, as the cold stones beneath you begin to share their peace. The Vikings were practical. They did not fear silence. They honored the land's language. And the cold store was a kind of chapel, a place not of worship, but of remembering, that beneath even the hottest soil, there is always stillness, place the sun cannot reach. Asa moves to a low shelf and lifts a jar, sealed with beeswax. She unfastens it slowly, and from within, pulls a folded cloth soaked in elderflower and mint. She presses it to your hand, and it is perfect, tinted, soft as a whisper on your skin. You hold it over your chest, and your breath deepens. This is what the Vikings knew, that when fire rules the sky, you must seek the places where it cannot go, not in rebellion, but in balance. And in that balance, sleep finds you. You lean back against the earthen wall, cool and kind. Above, the village dreams. Below, the ground holds its secret hush. You are safe, wrapped in the cool bones of the earth, listening to nothing but your own soft breath. And now your breath slows again, as we drift down the quiet slope toward the water. It is morning, but the light feels heavy, as though it has forgotten how to rise. The heat hasn't broken, no clouds, no breeze. Just the stillness that stretches its limbs across the village. But near the fjord's edge, where the long grasses tremble ever so faintly, quiet rhythm lives on. Not hurried, not noisy, just steady. In the shipyard they still work. Because the Vikings always prepared, not just for war, not only for trade, but for the seasons ahead, for winter, for distance. The wooden frames of half-built ships rest like sleeping animals in the sand, their ribs curving skyward like the bones of something ancient and gentle. A boy named Ove stands barefoot beside one. He dips a cloth in a bucket and gently wipes the hull, removing sawdust and heat in long, smooth strokes. Not to rush, not to finish, just to care for it. Beside him, Halvard, the fisherman, sharpens a drawknife, not with the metallic scrape of urgency, but in a slow, patient rhythm. Slide pause. Slide pause. The sound is soothing, a whisper between blade and stone. A woman sits cross-legged on a plank nearby. Her name is Ursa. She weaves rope from twisted strands of flax. Her hands move in a practiced flow. Twist, tighten, twist, fold. Sometimes she hums. not for company, just for the wind if it chooses to listen. They work in shade where they can, beneath thin cloths stretched on poles, beside tall barrels of water cooled with stones. When someone tires, they sit in silence, watch the ripples on the fjord, a drink of water, a slice of dried pear, and then they return. This is not toil, this is ritual, and in the warmth of their labor, there is peace, because even the hottest day holds moments of calm. In the smooth curl of wood shaving, in the sound of flax rope tightening, in the salt of sweat on sun-darkened skin. You walk among them now, quietly, your feet press into warm sand. You pass a half-finished oar, resting like a sleeping arm, its handle rounded perfectly to fit a hand like yours. Halvard notices you. Without words, he gestures toward a bowl of water. You drink. It tastes faintly of ashwood, cooled overnight with a sprig of wild thyme. And for a moment, you feel what they feel, the rhythm of the land, the deep, unspoken agreement between people and place. This heat, they do not fight it, they yield to it, they work with it, and through that, they preserve their stillness. Ursa hums again, softer this time. She sings a verse between the turns of rope. When fire walks the noonday field, we hide in craft, in hand, in shield. When wind forgets to stir the tide, we wait, we work, we do not chide. And when the sun returns to sleep, we lay our boats in shadows deep. It is an old lullaby, a work song, yes, but one that sends you drifting. You sit beside a carved plank, warm to the touch. You lean your head back, let your eyes close. The air is thick, but you no longer resist it. You are part of it now, a thread in the tapestry, a stone in the shade, a breath in the slow, bright tide of summer. And somewhere between the rhythm of ropes and the hush of the fjord, you slip quietly into rest. Let your breath fall slower now, as if the air itself is thick with honey, and each inhale floats gently through the body like a small wooden boat upon still waters. It is evening again in the Viking village, and along the water's edge, the lanterns are being lit, not with flame, not on this warm night, but with softly glowing stones, sun-baked during the day, set gently inside carved bowls of water, their warmth drawing a gentle shimmer that lights the way without heat. Children place them along the path near the fjord, small hands balancing smooth stones and round-bellied bowls with careful grace. No one rushes. They are learning how to walk with intention, to carry light, without flame. Sigrid, the weaver, kneels beside the largest lantern. It is carved from driftwood, smoothed by years at sea, and in its hollow rests a sunstone, a pale crystal the Vikings once used to find the sun, even on cloudy days. Tonight, she places it where the last rays can still touch it, just enough to glow through the dusk. There's a hush of reverence as she steps back. No applause, just shared breath. The lanterns mark the path not for travelers, but for thoughts, for dreams. Each glow is like a heartbeat, steady and low, whispering, "Here is safety. Here is stillness." You walk along the path now. The moss beneath your feet is soft and fragrant, carrying the scent of pine and sun-warmed stone. Each bowl you pass reflects a piece of the sky, amber clouds, streaks of plum, soft hints of deepening blue. At the far end of the path, near the bend in the shore, Freydis sits alone on a woven mat. Beside her, two flat stones rest in her lap. She is sketching, not with ink or blade, but with pale clay drawn across stone, leaving behind soft, ghost-like lines. You sit beside her. She does not look up, but she speaks, quiet as moss brushing against bark. "I'm mapping where the sun touched, so I can remember the warmth when the winds return." You glance at the stone, swirls, curves, small symbols. It isn't a map for travel, it's a map for memory, and it feels peaceful. A soft ripple crosses the fjord, barely touching the shore. Someone is floating a small wooden figure on the water. Not for prayer, not for ceremony, just tradition. The little figure rocks gently, its arms open, its belly filled with dried petals. These nights are not for celebration. They are for honoring stillness. The way water holds the sun's warmth long after the sun is gone. As the last child places the final lantern, a breeze rises, light and unsure, as though it forgot it was invited. It carries the scent of sage and wet sand. It lifts the smallest hairs on your arms, and you smile without meaning to. Freydis finishes her drawing. She sets the stone beside her, leans back on her palms, and tilts her head to the sky. Soon, she says. Soon it will cool. You follow her gaze. The stars are not sharp yet, but they're beginning to stretch across the velvet sky. And in the hush that follows, as the water laps gently against the shore, you feel it, the cool creeping peace of a day finally yielding to rest. The Vikings did not chase the heat. They listened to it, and they lit their paths without fire, not because they feared it, but because they understood when to welcome light, and when to let darkness soften the edges of thought. And so, like the lanterns you've passed, your mind begins to glow, not with brightness, but with calm, a slow hush spreading from your chest, to your fingers, to your breath, to the world around you. And there, in the lantern glow, you rest. Now breathe in, and let the warmth fall away from your shoulders. Let your eyes grow heavy, and listen, not just to the story, but to the hush it carries. In a tucked-away corner of the Viking village, where the ground rises just enough to catch a distant breeze, there stands a quiet shelter. It is not a home. It is not a temple. It is something between. A weaving hall. The walls are open on three sides. Tall posts of weathered wood hold up a sloped roof of birch bark and woven reeds. The floor is packed clay, smooth beneath bare feet. And on this night, it is cool. The heat of the day still lingers in the open air. But here, where the wind can move freely, there's a softness to the atmosphere, like the brush of linen against skin. Inside, the loom frames sit like old friends. They creak gently when touched, not in protest but in memory. They have seen countless seasons, woven for warriors and farmers, mothers and travelers alike. Tonight, three women work quietly, not from necessity, but from tradition. Their names are Runa, Ides, and Thyra, and they are not weaving cloth. They are weaving wind, not in a magical way, but in a way the body understands, with flax cooled in water, with threads dipped in mint and elderflower, with motions slow enough to calm even the most restless heat-bound mind. Their fingers move in rhythm, over-under pull, over-under pull. The sound is like a lullaby. The threads tighten into shape, becoming fans, cloths, head wraps, things that hold the coolness, and return it to the skin. Ides hums, soft as breath in a sleeping child's room. Runa, the eldest, closes her eyes as she weaves. She says she sees the patterns better that way, feels them. And Thyra, youngest of the three, pauses now and then to dab cool cloths onto her neck and wrists. She smiles at you. Sit, she says, patting the soft pile of finished flax near her feet. You lower yourself gently. The clay floor is warm, but the breeze curls around you, barely there, like the ghost of a lullaby. Above you, from the wooden beams, strips of pale linen hang gently, dampened with water and lavender. Each sways ever so slightly, guiding the breeze through the shelter like a quiet stream. The women speak only in murmurs, not full words, just sounds like leaves brushing one another. Their presence is calming, grounded. They know the heat comes. They do not fight it. They prepare for it. Each summer, the loom house becomes a place of peace, where nothing loud is permitted, and everything slow is sacred. One of them, Runa, offers you a square of fabric. You press it to your skin, and it's as if the heat is pulled away, drawn into the fibers like breath into a sail. It smells of pine and cool river stone. A story is told now, softly between the beats of weaving, of a woman long ago, a Viking sailor's wife, who would weave tokens to send with her husband on long journeys, not for luck, not for strength, but for comfort. Little squares of fabric soaked in meadowsweet and clover. So when the men grew too hot under foreign suns, they might remember home. They called them wind pieces. Not real wind, but the memory of it. Tonight the women are making wind pieces. For each child. For each elder. For travelers who pass by. And for you. They do not ask for payment. Only that, when the winds finally return, you remember who waited patiently in the stillness. You lie back now, your breath long and even. The breeze from the hanging cloth drifts over you, carrying the scent of linen, flax, and peace. Your hands fall still, your eyes soften, and in the loom house, where the woven wind hums low, you drift like a petal on slow water. Eld. The night has grown still again. Even the water has stopped speaking. The fjord rests, its surface like glass, reflecting only the memory of stars. But far beyond the shore, past the last of the huts and the smoke-darkened rooftops, the land begins to rise. Not sharply, but slowly, like a giant lifting its shoulders from sleep. There, among the folds of moss-covered stone, path winds up into the hills. Quiet ancient trail, known only to those who seek more than sleep. It is said the mountains themselves can breathe, not with lungs, but with caves. And tonight, you walk that path. Each step is soft. The earth beneath your feet is sun-warmed still, but the air around you begins to change. It smells of lichen, pine bark, of cool rock just after rain. The path is narrow now, flanked by low-growing juniper bushes. Tiny white berries glisten in the dusk, untouched. Shape waits ahead. Not a person, not an animal, but a stone arch, carved by time, weathered by wind. A natural gate into the mountain's heart. Beyond it lies the hollow. Not dark, not dangerous, just hushed. A place where the heat forgets how to follow. You pass beneath the arch, and the difference is immediate. The air presses gently against your cheeks, not cold, but cool enough to draw your breath deeper into your chest. This is where the Vikings came. In the hottest days of high summer. Not often, not all. Only those who needed the stillest quiet. Carved into the mountain is a chamber, round and smooth like the inside of a bowl. No flame has ever burned here. Only reflections. Light bounces gently from polished stone. Pale veins of quartz shimmer faintly in the rock. You can see without seeing. On the floor, thick moss grows in soft tufts. Never dry, never scorched. Always cool. A single wooden bench rests against the back wall, carved with runes. Its legs uneven from centuries of small adjustments. No one claims it. Simply is. You lower yourself slowly, feeling the weight of the day melt into the wood. From somewhere deep within the stone, you hear it. The mountain's breath, a whisper of wind, moving through underground tunnels, curling through cracks, exhaling through a narrow slit in the far wall. Just enough sound to remind you, this place is alive. Once a year, the oldest villagers walk here before dawn. They bring small offerings, a pinch of dried yarrow, a smooth pebble, a ribbon of cloth dipped in spring water, not for gods, for the mountain, to say, "Thank you for keeping our sleep." There is a story, one of the oldest they still whisper, of a boy who came to this place when fever had taken his breath. He lay on the moss, his skin burning, his voice gone, and the mountain cooled him, not with snow, but with breath, with hush, with stone. They say he returned 3 days later, quiet and well, with a smile that never quite faded. The hollow remembers. You lie back now, your fingers brushing moss. It's damp and fragrant, cool like a cup of water left beside a shaded well. You close your eyes. There is no sound now but the wind through stone. No light but what lives in the rock. And no thought, only presence. This is how they survived the heat. Not only with water, not only with herbs, but with silence, with stillness, with stone. And as the breath of the mountain moves gently through your hair, you feel it, not cold, but comfort, not sleep, but the edge of sleep. You've reached it. You rest now in a place that does not rush, that does not demand. The mountain will hold you until morning. The air tonight is heavier. It clings to the skin like linen fresh from the wash, soft but with weight. The wind has gone still again. The grasses barely stir. Even the trees seem to hold their breath. The village senses it. Storm is coming, but not the kind that howls and lashes. No, this will be a slow storm. A long hush of rain that rolls across the earth like a lullaby. And before it arrives, the Vikings prepare. Not with worry, not with noise, but with milk and honey and slow warmth that soothes the bones before the clouds turn. You're in the longhouse now. Not crowded, just dim. Shutters are half closed, and the only light comes from low coals tucked under a clay hearth. Runa stands near the fire pit. She is stirring something. Thick, slow spirals in a carved wooden pot. Warm goat milk, infused with sweet clover. A spoonful of wildflower honey melted within. Not for strength, not for hunger, for peace. Behind her, Fridas sets out linen wraps near the low table. Not for drying, for folding, for nesting. The air carries scents that make your shoulders drop. Lavender crushed with soft elder leaves. Oak bark soaked in rainwater. A hint of smoke from the peat beneath the fire. You settle onto a mat. Its texture is rough at first. Woven rushes over soft earth. But your weight presses it into comfort. The way these things are meant to be. Runa brings you a bowl. Not hot, just warm. The steam curls upward like a lazy story. You sip. The milk coats your mouth. Sweet and slow. And it draws the heat from your chest as if it were a bomb. Outside, a low rumble. Not thunder yet. Just the voice of a distant sky stretching its limbs. Inside, everything remains quiet. Will entered. The Vikings did not fear storms. They marked them. They listened for them. They welcomed them as change. Cleansing. A sleep for the land. You lie back. A cloth is placed gently over your eyes. It smells of beeswax and dried hay. Someone hums. The song isn't sharp. It doesn't try to reach your ears. It only flows. Through the beams. Through your ribs. Like water easing into dry ground. A memory comes. A mother's hand. Cool on a fevered brow. A fire burning low. Not to heat, but to soothe. In the corner, someone crushes dried chamomile with a stone. The sound is soft, repetitive, comforting. There are no words now. Just presence. Just the shared understanding of bodies preparing for rest. When the storm comes, they will not rise. They will not run. They will sleep deeper. Because the rain will do what it must. And they trust it. The bowl is empty in your hand. Runa takes it without a word. The fire dims. The breath of the house deepens. Not yours alone, but all within it. Shared breath. Shared stillness. Outside, the first drops begin. Not sudden. Not loud. Like fingers drumming across bark. Like cloth settling on skin. You do not fight it. You let the milk rest in your belly. Let the linen hold your shape. Let the storm speak in its hush. Sleep is close now. So close. And like the Vikings, you do not chase it. You welcome it. With honey. With quiet. With the sound of rain. On the roof above. Close your eyes. And listen to the hush of canvas. The way it sways like sails in a lull. Tonight we step into a tent. Not for travel. Not for war, but for peace. In the Viking summer, when the heat settled heavy over rooftops and even the birds grew quiet, some would retreat outside the village. Not far. Just beyond the berry brambles and pale birch groves. To sleep under fabric and stars. You are here now. The tent is wide and low. Shaped like a dome, its ribs arched from willow boughs. Over them, thick woolen cloth, dyed with indigo and alder bark, holds off the heat of day, and welcomes the breath of night. The flap is open, breeze stirs. Inside, the floor is covered with pine boughs, cool and fragrant, softened with linen wraps and old cloaks. A girl named Liv is folding blankets. She hums an old tune, barely louder than the wind. Near her, a boy named Axel is pinning thin copper discs above the entrance, small and round like coins. When they sway in the wind, they chime. A gentle, metallic murmur, meant to keep bad dreams from crossing the threshold. You step inside. The air here is different, not cold, but not warm. It is even, balanced. The tent holds shade in its corners, and the roof, though solid, feels open, as though you are sleeping inside the sky itself. Liv offers you a strip of cooled linen, damp with water and mint. You press it to your wrists, then to your temples. Relief travels through you, like a tide at the turning. Axel points upward. You follow his gaze. Above you, the inside of the tent has been painted. Soft pigments, ground from crushed berries, tree bark and river mud, form stars across the ceiling. Constellations as the Vikings once imagined them. There is the serpent, twisting across the north sky. The goat of the mountain pass. The fish whose scales turn to fire in late summer. Stories wrapped in shapes, quietly glowing as firelight flickers nearby. Someone has left a bundle of herbs by the flap. Angelica root, yarrow, and a sprig of mugwort tied with string. It rests near the doorway, filling the tent with a scent both sharp and soothing. Liv lays down now, and you follow. The pine beneath your blanket whispers. The copper discs chime. The wind shifts. The tent does not move. But you feel as though you are sailing, not across water, but through sleep. This is how they cooled themselves. Not by fleeing the warmth, but by welcoming the sky closer. By building shade not to hide, but to transform. Axel begins to speak. His voice is a whisper. He tells of how Viking tents were used on long journeys, but also at midsummer festivals, where rest was as sacred as feasting, where elders told stories beneath stitched roofs, and children fell asleep counting patterns in cloth, dreaming of stars they had never seen. The copper discs chime again, one, then another. It's as if the sky is knocking, gently, softly, to say, "You are safe here. Rest now." Your eyes begin to drift. The tent holds you like a lullaby, round, warm, filled with slow breath and distant night birds. The stars above do not twinkle. They glow, steadily, patiently. Your thoughts grow quiet. The paint on the tent's ceiling is old, faded in places, but still it tells its story. Still it guides the weary into the gentlest kind of rest. And here, in the cool hush beneath canvas and sky, you slip away, without sound, without weight, held, wrapped. Slow your breath now. Let your shoulders drop. You've walked far, through woods, past fire-lit hearths and glowing lanterns, and now you find yourself beneath the earth. But this place is not dark, not frightening. It is a bathhouse, built by steady Viking hands, tucked into the roots of a low hill. The doorway is half hidden, woven with ivy and soft moss, and when you duck inside, you're met with warmth, not heat, but the kind of warmth that holds no weight. Here the stones remember water. They remember cold springs and summer rains, and they give it back to you gently, in breath, in touch. A single lamp glows low, its wick floating in a bowl of animal fat, set upon a stone shelf. The bathhouse is quiet. No voices echo, only trickling water, and the faint creak of timber beams, sinking comfortably into the soil above. You sit on a smooth bench worn by centuries of rest. The stone is cool. It drinks the heat from your skin. A woman named Elja moves slowly beside you. Her hair is wrapped in linen, her hands damp from preparing the cool basin. She does not speak loudly, only in hushed tones. The men use the steam above, she murmurs. But down here, this is for stillness, for balance. She dips a bowl into a sunken spring. It's water fed from an underground stream, always cold, even in the hottest summers. She pours it gently across your shoulders. You flinch, but then exhale. The shock fades into relief. The heat in your chest softens. Your pulse slows. This is what they did, the Vikings. Those who understood the wisdom of cool places. Not all bathed in fire and steam. Some came here, to the places where light fell gently, where air flowed through hidden roots, where water soothed the burn of long days. The floor is packed with pebbles, smooth, rounded stones that massage the soles of your feet. With every shift and breath, you lie back now, on a shallow bench carved into the wall. Above you, wooden beams curve like ribs, and the flicker of lamplight makes them feel alive. Elja offers you a cloth soaked in mountain water. It smells faintly of birch and mint. She lays it across your brow, and for a moment, just a moment, your thoughts vanish. Your body remembers what it is to be tended, to be cooled, to be still. A small clay bowl rests beside you now. Inside is barley milk, spooned from a cooled pot. You sip slowly. It is thick and smooth, tasting of oat and stone and calm. Vikings drank it in summer, not for nourishment, but to ground themselves before rest, to settle the body, to signal the mind that it is safe now. Outside the heat may still shimmer, but not here. Here the stones keep secrets. The water sings only for you. Elja begins to hum, softly, just under her breath. A melody passed down from mother to daughter, meant for cooling the spirit after long days in sun or war or grief. You do not understand the words, but the tone feels like water slipping through fingers. Your arms grow heavy. The bowl tilts in your hand. Elja takes it gently and covers you with a light wrap soaked in spring water, then wrung nearly dry. The linen clings to your skin, not cold, just right. It draws the fire from your chest and sends it away, into the stone. This is how the Vikings prepared for sleep. This is how they survived the hottest nights. With baths that soothed instead of scalded, with stone instead of flame, with hands that cooled instead of stirred. You rest now, eyes closed, lulled by the hush of water over stone. The earth wraps around you, protects you, cools you, and like a pebble in a quiet stream, you drift into stillness. Lie back now, let your breath fall into rhythm, and listen for a sound so soft, you may miss it if you think too hard. It's the sound of wool on wood, of flax winding over a distaff, of fingers, old and careful, coaxing thread into something fine enough to carry rest. In the quiet corner of a Viking home, as the sun hangs low and golden over the thatch, there is always a spinner, not just for cloth, but for peace. You're in that corner now. The room smells of ash, and sheep's lanolin, and a hint of crushed chamomile. A cat sleeps nearby, its tail twitching gently in its dreams. The spinner's name is Ilsa. Her eyes are pale and kind, her fingers stained with dye. She spins not for trade, not for wealth, only to keep the night cool, and to fill it with rhythm. The wheel turns with a soft creak, then a whisper, then a stretch of quiet. It is not constant. Breathe. Outside the heat lingers. But here, in this shaded room of packed earth and wattle walls, the spinning draws your mind inward, like thread onto spindle. Ilsa speaks, slowly, never lifting her voice. She tells you how the Vikings cooled themselves not only with water or stone, but with repetition, with rituals, with rhythms that slowed the body and tamed the racing pulse of summer days. Spinning was one such rhythm. You don't need to move. Just watch. Just listen. A bundle of raw wool rests in Ilsa's lap. It is pale, almost silver, dyed with lichen gathered from the northern cliffs. She plucks from it gently, twisting fibers between finger and thumb, guiding them to the spindle. The wheel hums, not loud, Just enough. It's a lullaby for the room. Steady, grounded breath. Ilse hums too. Not a tune, but a tone. A single, even sound that swells and dips with the turning of the wheel. She speaks again. There is comfort in doing what the hands remember, even when the sun forgets how to sleep. She tells you of the wool-blessing festivals, held once a summer, where spinners would sit in a circle, hands busy, mouths quiet. Children would sleep beside them, lulled not by stories, but by motion. Wool became blankets, cloaks, woven wraps for shoulders too warm for sleep. Soft barriers between skin and heat. You blink slowly. The wheel turns. The wool slips through her fingers like mist. A breeze stirs through the open shutter. Just once, then stillness. Ilse dips her hand into a bowl of water, infused with sweet rush and pine. She dampens the thread, and the smell floats toward you, earthy, fresh, like riverbanks at dusk. You breathe it in, and your chest loosens. Your limbs grow soft. The cat stretches. The wheel turns. Ilse wraps the new thread around a carved spindle, its tip shaped like a bird's beak. The spindle rests on a small shelf near your mat. Sleep will come, she says, not as a promise, but as a certainty. You've found the rhythm. You close your eyes. The sound continues. Wool on wood, wood on air, air on skin. It moves through you like a tide. No rush, no noise, just quiet labor, done in peace, done for peace. This is how they cooled themselves. The women who spun the night into silk and safety. They gave the heat no reason to linger. They gave the mind no foothold. Only rhythm, only softness. The wheel turns again. The hum deepens. Your thoughts dissolve. And the cool hush of wool on wood becomes the only thing left. The last light of day has faded, not quickly, but like an ember being breathed on for the final time. A warm hush settles over the fjord, and high above it, where the cliffs meet the clouds, the sky turns copper. It is not yet dark. It is the hour of glowing. The Vikings had a word for it. GLR. A glowing twilight that comes before true nightfall. A time for stillness, for watching, for letting go. You are here now. Atop the stone hill that overlooks the village. A flat slab has been laid, not by builders, but by time. Smoothed by wind, vein, and centuries of footsteps. The elders called it Rest Rock, not because it was soft, but because it never held the sun's heat for long. Even on the hottest nights, it cooled faster than anything else in the world. You lie upon it now, wrapped in a thin wool blanket, your back to the earth, your eyes to the sky. No fire burns here, no need. Above you, the heavens flicker, not stars, not yet, but the slow shimmer of warmth. Departing, the air has changed. It tastes of salt and stone and sleeping herbs. You hear the sea in the distance, not crashing, but breathing. Beside you a pouch rests. Inside, dried lavender, a polished river stone, and a strip of birch bark painted with runes. You don't need to read them. They are only meant to be near you. This was the Vikings' final refuge on long summer nights. High, cool place, where heat could not follow, and thoughts could not cling. Axel is here again, not speaking now, just sitting nearby with a carved lyre across his lap. He plucks a single string, then waits, then another. The notes do not make a song. They make a pause, a moment between breaths. Around you the grass grows tall, sways gently, but only at the tips, as if bowing toward rest. This rock, the sky, they do not demand sleep. They allow it. You shift slightly. The stone beneath you is smooth, not warm, not cold, perfect. A drop of dew forms on a leaf nearby. It catches the last of the copper light, and gleams like a tiny lantern. You imagine your thoughts, the stubborn ones, the sticky ones, being drawn into that single bead of water, held, and then released. As it falls, Axel plucks the lyre again. 3 soft notes, evenly spaced, Then stillness. He sets the instrument aside, lies back, breathes deep. You follow. The sky is darkening now. Not all at once, but from the edges inward. A slow closing of a soft eye. The stars arrive quietly, one by one. No rush. And you, with your spine against the earth, your skin cooled by stone, your breath as even as the tide, have nothing left to do. You have entered the last ritual, the letting go. This is how the Vikings welcomed sleep on their hottest nights. With stone, with starlight, with stillness, and as the stars bloom above, and the wind gathers in gentle folds, you are held in perfect quiet, not asleep yet. Close, so close. The sky of embers fades. The earth no longer remembers the heat. And you no longer remember the day. Only this, only now, only rest. Let the hush return now. Let your thoughts grow soft, like morning mist over still fjords. Tonight we follow a different rhythm. Not footsteps on earth, but the slow, lulling push of water against wood. You are aboard a longboat, not a warship, not meant for battle or distant shores. This is a smaller vessel, wide-bellied, steady, used not for raids, but for peace. They called it dryfa, the drifting kind, built for quiet transport across shallow inland waters. It glides more than it sails, and tonight, it rocks gently under a pale, glowing sky. It's midsummer, and the air inland has become too heavy to bear. Even the stone homes, with their thick turf roofs, hold the heat like clay holds fire. So a family gathers what they need: blankets, water skins, a pot of cooled barley stew, a bundle of dried herbs, and they set off down river, just far enough to find air that moves. You are with them now. The oars make no sound. They've been pulled into the boat, and the current is slow but faithful. Beside you, a girl wraps herself in woven linen. Her name is Svala. She has always loved this part of summer, the drifting. There is no heat on the river, she whispers. Only reflections. And she's right. Above you the sky is peach and deep blue. But below, the water reflects a mirror of soft firelight and gentle clouds. It's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. You lie back, your head resting on a folded cloak. The boat sways with your breath. The sides are low, not meant to keep out waves, but to welcome breezes. You feel it now, a whispering wind across your arms, lifting the sweat from your skin, as if it were smoke. Svala takes out a pouch of dried birch leaves. She crumbles them into a shallow bowl of water, and dips in a strip of cloth. She presses it to your wrists, then to your neck. You cool the blood where it runs near the skin, she says. That's what the old women taught us. The river curves now. The longboat turns slowly with it, not forced, just guided. You pass under a low arch of leaning trees. Their roots twist into the water. Their leaves hum with the faintest wind. Axel, the boy from earlier nights, sits at the stern. He holds a wooden flute in his hands, not playing yet, just feeling the wood, watching the water, and then, note, soft breathy, not a melody, just a sound, that lives and dies in one moment, then another, a string of sounds that feel like wind, passing through stone corridors. Your thoughts drift with them. You're not thinking now, only floating. The longboat moves as though it too is breathing. Beside you fireflies flicker, not many, just a few, their light mirrored in the black glass surface of the river. The heat is still there, somewhere inland, but not here. Here water remembers the glaciers, the deep snows, the long dark, and though it flows gently, it carries with it the memory of cold. Svala dips her feet into the river. She sighs, not in pain, but in relief. The sound of the water folding around her ankles is the softest lullaby. You follow her lead. Your feet slip over the side. The river kisses them, cool, slow, never rushing. You feel it travel up through your legs, into your spine, into your breath. You are being cooled from the inside out. You are being returned. This is how the Vikings survived their hottest nights. Not just with shade, or herbs, or stone, but with water, and the knowledge that sometimes, to escape the heat, you must drift, you must let go. The longboat continues. Without urgency, its sides creak gently. The stars begin to bloom above. The wind speaks in a hush of reeds along the bank. And all around you, the hush deepens. The coolness settles. The world quiets. As your eyes grow heavier, you hear Svala's voice. So faint it might be a thought. You'll sleep now. You're safe in the drift. Let the river carry you. You do. You sleep. And the boat rocks gently on. The wind has stopped. Not slowed, but truly stilled. The trees no longer rustle. The grasses stand stiff, unmoving. And even the river, so gentle before, has turned to glass. On nights like this, the Vikings said the world was listening. And so, they told stories. You are lying beneath a woven tent, set up on the bank of the river, not far from where the longboat drifted. The air is thick, but the earth is cool. You've pressed your bedroll over damp moss, and someone, perhaps Svala, tucked mint leaves into your pillow. Helps, not cold, but clearer. In the center of the little camp, a low fire burns without flame, just coals, just glow. And beside it sits an old man, his hair a curtain of pale gray, his hands curled loosely in his lap. The children have gathered around him, barefoot, linen-clad, bare shoulders still warm from the day. But no one fidgets, not tonight. The air is too heavy to move. So the story begins. You can't tell if it's true. No one minds that. The old man speaks slowly, drawing the words out like thread across a loom. He speaks of a summer, when even the birds forgot how to fly. When dogs lay in shadow, refusing to bark. When the fjord turned warm enough to touch without flinching. And in that summer, a woman climbed a hill so high, scraped the sky, not for glory, not to hunt, but to whisper to the wind. She was called Brynhild, and she was said to be part sea, part storm. They say she wore no shoes, only moss-wrapped feet, and carried a bowl of ice from the deepest mountain cave. In silence, she waited at the peak, as the world around her hung in heat. 3 nights passed. She ate only cloudberries. She drank dew. And on the 4th night, when her eyes stung and her bones ached from the sun's weight, she lifted the bowl high, and it melted in a single breath. The water splashed the rocks, hissed, steamed, but it called the wind, not with sound, not with song, but with silence. And the wind came, a slow sigh down the mountain pass, cool as whalebone, carrying pine and sea and night. You shiver a little as the old man finishes the tale. It's not the cold, it's the memory. He leans forward, pulling something from a leather pouch. A strip of bark, curled at the edges. He tosses it into the coals. It smokes just a little, filling the tent with a scent like burned cedar and honey. Brynhild's breath, someone murmurs. You smile softly. Of course it isn't real, but it feels real. The air seems to lighten. Someone begins to hum, barely more than a whisper. A girl with her hands folded in her lap, eyes half closed. You close yours too. You can still see the hill. You can still feel the bowl of melting ice. You can still imagine the silence, so pure it invited a wind from beyond the fjords. And now, as your limbs settle, as the moss presses cool against your back, you realize something. The wind has returned. Just barely. Just enough. A breath over your skin. Promise in the dark. This is how the Vikings survived their hottest nights. With stories. With silence. With small flames and long memory. And you, held now in both story and night, drift gently toward sleep. Tonight, there is no breeze. No clouds. No sound but the slow pulse of your own breath. The air presses close, like heavy wool on bare skin. But you are not afraid of the heat. Not anymore. because tonight is for something deeper. Tonight is for the unseen. They gather in the circle. 6 figures, cloaked in linen and silence. Some wear wreaths of mugwort and sea thyme. Others have daubed their faces with crushed berry ash. Cool to the touch, sweet on the tongue. You are among them, kneeling. The grass beneath you is damp and black with night dew. The village seer, called Ides, stands in the center. She carries no torch, no fire. Instead, she holds a stone bowl. In it, water from a sacred spring, a sliver of ice from the deepest well, and 5 white feathers, tied with flaxen thread. She sets the bowl on the earth. Then she sits, and silence spreads like smoke. These are the cooling rites of spirit. Ides speaks at last, toughly, as if her words might shatter the night. When the heat of the world grows thick, she says, we cool ourselves by remembering what is not made of flesh. She dips her fingers into the bowl and sprinkles droplets onto the dirt. The hiss is imagined, but the chill is not. You feel it, in your spine, in your ribs. Quiet descent of peace. Ides tells you stories, not aloud, but into the fire of your thoughts. Stories of water spirits called Stjora, who guided fishermen to cold, shaded currents when the summer sun grew cruel. Of Landvetter, earth spirits that lived in shaded hollows, where moss grew thick and eternal, and the air smelled of stone and sleep. She says the spirits were not worshipped. Not exactly. They were invited. They were welcomed. And when they came, they brought silence, stillness, coolness. You close your eyes. The night presses around you. But within the circle, there is breath. A girl beside you, perhaps Svala again, reaches into the bowl and touches your brow. Her fingers are wet, and the water is almost icy. She draws a slow, curved shape across your forehead. A rune. Not for power, not for prayer, just for stillness. A breeze moves now, not over the land, but inside your chest. Your shoulders unclench. Ides begins to hum. It is not a melody. It is the sound of wind in pine, of waves echoing through narrow fjords. Sound older than music. You feel it more than hear it. Around the circle others join, low breathy, as if exhaling all the day's warmth, until only the cool remains. This is how the Vikings survived their hottest nights. They did not wait for the wind. They summoned it. Within, you bow your head. The moss brushes your cheeks. Your knees press into the soft earth. You are cooler now, not from air, not from water, but from calm, from quiet, from the nearness of something older than heat. The bowl still rests before you. You imagine the feathers slowly drifting, suspended in that dark spring water. You imagine your thoughts floating with them. Let them drift, let them dissolve. You hear Ides one last time, soft as the back of a hand. When flesh is fire, you must remember spirit is snow. And just like that, the rite is over, but the stillness stays. It wraps around you, it sinks beneath your skin. It hushes every corner of your mind. And you, gentle sleeper, held by spirits and soil, float quietly toward dream. The village has fallen behind. Its rooftops now sit far below, nestled among the fjords like sleeping seals. The summer heat still clings there, but not here. You've climbed slowly, gently, with your companions, Svala, Axel, and old Ides. No rush, only steady feet and soft breath. For high above the village, tucked beneath the stony spine of the mountain, there is a secret place, sleeping place, cool even in summer, a gift of the earth. It is not a cave exactly, not quite a cliffside, just a wide, flat ledge of stone, curved inward like a bowl, tucked behind a curtain of wild elder trees. No roof, no walls, only rock and air and sky. They call it Svefnevala, the sleep cradle. Tonight you will rest here. Your footsteps fall quiet on the mossy stone. The sun has finally sunk behind the glacier ridge, and the mountain breeze, soft as linen, rolls down to greet your skin. You breathe it in, and it tastes like dusk. Ides lights a single lantern, not to chase away the dark, but to welcome it gently. The flame is blue. She sets it in a hollow between two stones, where it flickers without sound. Svala spreads out thick pelts, goat, reindeer, soft sheep's wool. Their scent is clean and faintly earthy, like old hay and wind-dried herbs. You lay down upon them, and for a long time no one speaks, not because of sleep, but because of awe. The stars above are closer here, brighter, sharper, stitched into the sky like runes on a banner. And beneath them, the air moves with slow rhythm, not cold, not hot, just perfect. You listen. Far off a glacier groans, a deep, distant sound, like the mountain exhaling in its sleep. Axel plays the flute again, but only once, a single note, then silence. It's enough, he whispers. And it is. Ides speaks softly now. Not a story, but a remembrance. When I was a girl, she says, my grandmother brought me here every summer, only once per year, on the hottest night. She said this place remembers the ice time. Said if you lie here, the stone will carry your dreams to the roots of the mountain. You close your eyes, not to sleep, just to feel. The rock beneath you is cool, not hard, not sharp. Cradles your back like a memory. You place your palms beside you. The moss is soft and a little damp. The kind of damp that soothes sunburned skin. The kind of damp that heals. Ides hums an old melody. No words, just tone, just breath. And the mountain listens. A bird calls far below, drowsy and hollow, the kind of sound that folds into dreams. Your thoughts begin to drift again. You imagine the stone beneath you, stretching down into the heart of the earth, cool and quiet, a place where no heat has ever lived. You imagine your breath, becoming mist, joining the night. You imagine nothing more. This is how the Vikings survived their hottest nights. With patience, with altitude, with places only the wind remembers. And here, on the mountain's shoulder, you are safe, you are cool, you are still. Ides extinguishes the lantern. The blue flame sighs out. Darkness arrives, but not alone. It brings sleep with it. And sleep brings silence. And silence, at last, brings peace. The sky has not wept in weeks. The herbs are crisp beneath your feet. The animals move slowly. The air shimmers even at twilight, heavy, golden, unmoving. And so tonight, the villagers gather beneath the stone arch, where earth and sky have met for centuries. It's time to ask the skies to remember water. This is not a desperate ritual, not fear, not begging, just a quiet offering, a whisper instead of a cry. They call it regn mini, memory of rain. It happens only on the stillest nights, when the air hums but does not stir, when even the birds seem to listen. The arch stands at the edge of the woods, curved like a rib bone, grown over with old moss and foxglove. It's not a temple, no carved gods, no golden icons, but it's older than stories. And beneath it, you kneel on fresh-laid leaves. Ides leads the ritual. Her voice is lower than usual, soft like wind brushing cloth. We do not command the rain, she says. We only remind it we are here. Around you others kneel. Women with braids coiled like ropes. Men with herb bundles tied to their belts. Children with wide blinking eyes. In the center, a stone basin. Inside it, a trickle of melted ice, collected from the glacier's breath. Enough for a bowl. Nothing more. One by one, people step forward, dip a finger in the water, and flick it skyward. Not upward with force, but with reverence. A gesture of memory, a gesture of invitation. Svala kneels beside you. She holds a pouch of dried lavender and crushed mint. She sprinkles some into the basin, and the scent rises like a breeze that never arrived. You step forward. Your turn. The water is cooler than expected. even this late in summer, curls around your finger, leaving behind a breath of winter. You raise your hand and flick. A single droplet, gone before it lands, but not lost. Above the stars blink. The clouds still slumber, but something shifts. Ides begins to hum again. Not the lullaby from the mountain, but a deeper tone, like thunder far away. Others join her, low and slow. A humming that rises from bellies, not throats. Doesn't grow louder, just deepens. You feel it in your ribs. The ground too begins to hum. The trees sway just slightly. Or is that your imagining? The air smells different now. Less of dust, more of stone and fern. The ritual is not dramatic. No lightning, no cries, no promises. Only presence, only breath, and a shared remembering that the world was once wet and can be again. After a while the humming fades. The basin is empty. People are quiet. They do not wait to see if rain falls. They have already cooled something deeper. Their hearts, their thoughts, their hopes. The villagers return to their beds. But not you. Not just yet. You stay a moment longer beneath the stone arch, listening to the hush. And just as your eyes begin to close, a single breeze brushes past your cheek. Not cold, but moving. And that, for now, is enough. This is how the Vikings survived their hottest nights. With rituals of memory, with offerings of peace, with patient hope, carried into sleep. The final night has arrived. Not the end of summer, just the last of the hottest ones. And tonight you can feel it. The shift. The hush before the wind returns. The villagers wake early. Not to work, but to wait. They move slowly, sweeping the hearths, brushing linen tunics clean, airing out mats and moss-padded cloaks. Everyone has the same thought, unspoken but known. Today the wind will change. You walk quietly along the riverbank. The grass underfoot is cool, still wet with last night's dew. It has been weeks since the earth smelled like this. Fresh, open, easy. Swallow walks beside you, barefoot, humming, a garland of dried clover on her wrist. You find the others gathered near the longhouse, not working, not speaking, just waiting. And above, at last, sound, faint, like a flute, like breath through a bone pipe. The trees shiver, only once, then again. The first true wind in many nights has come. It sweeps down the valley like a whisper turned real. Not harsh, not cold, but alive. It moves through hair, through grass, through flax drying on racks. The people raise their faces to it. No one cheers, no one laughs. They simply close their eyes and breathe, 'cause this is not just wind. This is the season's promise kept. The cooling has begun. That evening, you gather with the others one last time. At the edge of the meadow, where the wind moves freely, everyone brings something to place in the field. A bundle of dried mint, a piece of blue sea glass, a feather found in the shallows, small quiet offerings, to thank the wind for its return. Axel brings his flute. He plays, not a song, but a farewell. 3 notes, then silence. And Svala, standing beside you, speaks a single word. Milder, toughness, and it fits. Because that's what the air has become. Melt, carried. Later you lie once more in the longhouse, this time with both doors open wide. The wind drifts in, not as a guest, but as a returning friend. The fire is just coals now. No need for flame, only warmth. New, tucked beneath a light wool blanket, head resting on a sweetgrass pillow. Breathe in, and it smells like water, and stone, and wind, and sleep. This is how the Vikings survived their hottest nights. Not by fighting the heat, but by listening, by waiting, by remembering. And when the wind came back, they did not chase it. They welcomed it with stillness. And now, as your breath slows, as the last of the warmth drifts from the world, as the cool hush wraps around your limbs, you let go, and sleep comes. as gently as the breeze.